begin this morning with news out of Chicago as we take a live look at the Windy City. Really a beautiful start to the day, but residents waking up to multiple shootings overnight where 21 people were shot, at least 2 people pronounced dead overnight. This happening at the same time a showdown between federal and local officials on how to handle crime in Chicago is coming to the forefront. Residents and leaders there bracing for National Guard troops to be deployed by the Trump administration. But there's a new executive order from the mayor of Chicago. He hopes to send what he calls a, quote, resounding message to the federal government. NewsNation's Mills Hayes is live in Chicago this morning with the very latest. Good morning, Mills. What are we learning after a really troublesome night in Chicago?
Good morning, Hena. Well, we know that overnight 21 people were shot in 11 different shootings, 2 people unfortunately killed. Now, this comes after 11 other people were shot from Friday to Saturday, 2 others also killed in those shootings as well. Now, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson signing that executive order and saying that the city has received credible reports that it could be days, not weeks, before Chicago sees some sort of militarized activity, and that EO largely symbolic, but it does reaffirm that Chicago police answer to the mayor, not the federal government.
We do not want to see tanks in our streets. We do not want to see families ripped apart. We do not want grandmothers thrown into the back of unmarked vans. That's not who we are as a city, and that's not who we are as a nation.
Mayor Brandon Johnson calling on the Trump administration to stand down on sending in military personnel. Mayor Johnson's order urges all federal law enforcement and military personnel sent to the city to abide by local policing rules like wearing body cameras, clearly identifiable uniforms, and no face coverings. It bans Chicago police from working with federal agents on ICE operations, patrols, or any other law enforcement activity. This comes as President Trump is reportedly weighing sending in the National Guard, similar to the deployment in Los Angeles this summer, when thousands of troops came in to quell unrest during protests after workplace ICE raids in the city. Borders Czar Tom Homan confirming ICE would step up enforcement operations in Chicago as early as next Friday. Despite officials saying this is not a part of a broad campaign against crime, President Trump took to Truth Social saying 6 people were killed and 24 people were shot in Chicago last weekend. He better straighten it out fast or we're coming, in reference to Governor of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker, who also reposted that, saying that Chicago doesn't want you here. Hena?
No, so you've been talking to a lot of people in Chicago who obviously want to bring the crime down in their city. What do they think of this plan?
Right, Hena. Well, I've spoken to some people who walk the streets of the city of Chicago and try to prevent violence before it happens. Sometimes these groups utilize ex-cons to talk to younger people to try to get them to turn away from a life of crime. Now, Theo Hardiman, he actually created violence interrupters nearly 20 years ago, but he says it's even more relevant now. And he says he does agree with President Trump that the city of Chicago is a killing field, but says it's been that way since the 70s. He says communities where there is the most violence on the south side and west side of the city have been underdeveloped for decades, and that perhaps a black National Guard could help bring down the crime because the majority of the killings occur in black communities. And he says kids are more worried about being street stars than football stars.
Now, this might sound crazy, but it's true. I had a young guy, I'm not going to mention his name, he's 19 years old, but he's been carjacking since he was 17. And I could not stop him from carjacking, but what I did say to him, look here, man, if you carjack somebody, don't hurt him. So he called me one day, he said, you know, I was in the process of carjacking a guy, I was about to, because he didn't get the keys up. He didn't give them up when I asked him to. And he said, you know what, I thought about what you said, it played in the back of my head and I didn't shoot the guy. I walked off. That's major.
Hardiman tells me that it is time for the governor of Illinois and the mayor of Chicago and President Trump to all get together and try to figure out a solution together to fight the issue of crime. Hena?
Yeah, conversation sounds like a great idea here. Mills Hayes, thank you so much, live in Chicago for us this morning.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.